A Fox News legal analyst joins us now. The mandate requires individuals, not the state government, to buy insurance. How is it that the states would have standing to sue?
Well, the states are saying, Idaho's the first one, as you said, that's actually passed the law. The governor signed off on the law earlier this week. 37 other states are lined up saying, it's not just an individual right, it's a state's right, and the state is going to step in and say, federal government, you can't tell us, you can't mandate and penalize us as citizens of the state or any state for not buying your government insurance.
Right, and since 15 million people will be put on Medicaid, it's the states that pick up the cost, a lot of it, of Medicaid, so they're directly harmed. Look, Congress has authority in the Constitution to levy taxes and to regulate interstate commerce. Where in Article 1, Section 8, or anywhere in that esteemed document does it say that you can force Americans to buy health insurance simply because they exist?
Nowhere, Greg. Nowhere does it say that, and that's really what Idaho and these other states are pinning themselves on. Look at, yes, there's a supremacy clause, which is the states that the federal law is supreme to state law when it comes to issues of constitutionality, but nowhere in the Constitution does it say that the federal government can mandate.
Well, what about interstate commerce? Because the Supreme Court is given wide latitude to regulate economic activity under the Commerce Clause, and look, if your refusal to buy health insurance negatively impacts the overall marketplace with higher health care costs, taxpayers have to absorb that burden. Isn't that commerce? It's
an excellent argument, and Commerce Clause will be used when this all reaches the Supreme Court, because anytime you have a product that transfers from one state to the other, your medical gloves, whatever supplies you're getting in from Idaho from another state, for example, yes, that affects the Commerce Clause. But again, under the Commerce Clause, the Supreme Court has said, look, you cannot levy any fines or penalties for people that are being burdened like this.
And see, a strict constructionist would say the following. If I choose not to buy any health insurance at all, I'm not engaging in any activity at all, and I may not go to a hospital if I get sick, forcing the hospital to absorb the cost. I may just deal with it myself. So that doesn't impact anybody, thus it doesn't impact commerce.
Well, but the problem there, of course, is that if you do go to an emergency room, and even if you're going to sign off on a piece of paper that says that, you do go to an emergency room, the emergency rooms have to take you, which does affect commerce. But Greg, I mean, I'm sure you would agree with me on this, that you got this state, Idaho, plus 37 others, really huge constitutional issues here. It's going to wind up in the Supreme Court.
I know I'm going to get it. It will. It may come down to one guy, Anthony Kennedy, the swing vote. But I always get emails from people saying, well, I'm forced to buy car insurance. But that's a misnomer, because driving a car is a voluntary activity.
It's a privilege. You don't have to drive a car. Once you turn 16 or 17, whatever the law is in your state, no one's putting a gun to your head and saying you have to buy a car or drive. Versus here, this is mandatory insurance. You have no choice but to buy this.
All right. Now, if I don't buy health insurance under the measure, I get penalized. What about the old Supreme Court decision, Bailey versus Drexel, which says Congress may not tax to penalize?
And that's exactly what it comes square against with this Idaho law, because the feds are going to say, whoever takes this up in the department, when somebody has standing, that there can be a tax. But obviously, with the decision, the Drexel decision, it's right on point, saying there can be no tax like this. There can be no penalty. And that's exactly what's written into this Idaho law, and I would venture to say the other laws that are being drafted as well.
Well, I mean, I think this thing's heading to the Supreme Court. And again, you've got 4 conservatives, 4 liberals, and 1 swing guy, Anthony Kennedy. So we'll wait and see. Lise Wheel, thanks very much.
You got it, Greg.